Hey cats, it's Rich. There's a lot of stuff to cover this week about what happened in mortgages and the real estate market. I want to talk about the number that came out last Thursday. That was the Consumer Price Index. And this is one of the big things that the Fed follows. The Consumer Price Index is basically telling us how much inflation we're having. Now, many years ago, Alan Greenspan, the former Fed of the chair, he said that his target for the Consumer Price Index was around 2%. Ever since he said that, all of the subsequent Fed governors and the Fed chairs have taken that as holy writ. So when the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, is over 2%, they're worried about inflation. One thing that they are looking at right now is the CPI trend, the Consumer Price Index trend. Now, we had a dearth of data. We didn't get a lot of information due to the government shutdown, but now that the government shutdown is over, we're starting to get new information. And the Consumer Price Index for November was supposed to come out at about 3%. They were thinking it was going to come out flat. What happened? It came out at 2.7%. And most of that was led by a decrease in the cost of housing, specifically temporary housing, things like Airbnbs, things like hotels. There were a lot less hotel stays and Airbnb usage in November. That could partially be due to the government shutdown. The other part, though, is just there's a lot less demand for travel. And in most of the country, rents are going down as well. So we're going to see that Consumer Price Index probably will continue to fall during the next few months because the increase in the cost of housing has decreased. What does that mean for you? If you're trying to get a mortgage, that's going to be really good because when the Consumer Price Index decreases, that means that we're less inflationary. And if we're less inflationary, the Fed will ease their monetary policy, which will help mortgage rates decrease. So we're looking for that. We think that things are going to be pretty good there. Now let's talk about some other things. We also have unemployment numbers that came out. And jobless claims fell. This is the first time that they've fallen for quite a while. They fell in November, 13,000 to 224,000 new people looking for work. That's 224,000 people that no longer have employment. The continuing claims rose 67,000. What that means is people are out of work for longer. There are 1.9 million people in the workforce who have been unemployed for less than 6 months that are still looking for work. Once it's over 6 months, they don't count those people anymore. So we really don't understand how high this is going to be. The other thing we have to look at is in November, a lot of folks got what are called WARN Act notices. That means that after the holidays, they're going to be laid off. It's a 60-day notice for them to be laid off. So probably looking at a lot of new unemployment claims coming in January and February. This is going to also put pressure on the Fed to drop the discount rate to ease monetary policy, and that should be healthy for mortgage rates as well. Let's talk about what's going on in the Houston real estate market. Okay, overall, nationwide, they've seen that rents are going down about 1.9%. But if you take a look at what's going on in Houston, single-family rentals, the average lease price has gone up 0.4% year over year. That means that rents are still increasing, but they're doing it at a much slower level. One thing is, if you are a renter or you're looking to rent, call us first. Let's see if we can buy a house. But if you are looking to rent, or if you're buying investment property, this increase in rent, even though it's small, is still a healthy thing. There is a little bit more inventory on the market than there has been before. And home sales, well, they were down slightly year over year, just under 3% decrease. We do understand that that's going to happen, especially in light of the government shutdown and a lot of uncertainty. That being said, however, the average sales price was up from 419 to 422,000. The median sales price, which I know we've talked about before, median is the middle of the list, that decreased about 1.5%, but our average sales price is going up. The Houston market is actually still very strong, and we're still seeing home price appreciation through a lot of the market. And what's going on new activity? We're seeing that new listings are up basically 8% year over year. Pending listings are still down. Showing activity, though, has really started to increase. And last week, we had more closings than we had in the year before. So if we take a look at it, we actually do have a fairly healthy real estate market in Houston. We still have just under 5 months of inventory, which means that homes are taking a little bit longer to sell, but we're seeing that appropriately priced homes, they're moving along at a pretty good clip. So if you've got any questions about what's going on in the real estate market, if you're interested in finding out more about what's going on in the mortgage market, especially if you're self-employed or know somebody who's self-employed that's absolutely sick of renting, hit me up. This is Rich Bond with Abaya Home Loans.